Welcome to MWEB's Entrepreneur Zone. Today I'm with Peter from PJS Foods. Welcome, Peter.
Yeah, nice to be here, thanks.
Tell us a little bit about your story.
You know, when you retire, you've got to think of something to do, haven't you? And I'd been playing around making sausages and things, more as a hobby than anything else, for quite some time. And then as the day approached, I thought, well, let's turn this into a proper business, because I had quite a few customers by that time.
And how's it grown since then?
Oh, it grows every year, and this quite surprises me. I know the first year I thought, this is the worst mistake I've made in my life. You know, I had made a profit. All the money I'd put into it, I had not paid back, and I thought, you know, this was a terrible mistake. But somebody said to me at the end of that year, they said, yes, but you know, you have survived, and most businesses haven't this year, so you should be pleased with yourself. But it's grown since then, which is actually quite nice, over the last 3 or 4 years.
And this is a business you started from home?
I started from home, yes. I used to farm out certain aspects of it, but then when I retired, I sort of developed a proper little factory, and we make sausages and bacon. Bacon grew out of demand, I suppose. I made some bacon for home, and then other people said, can't we have some too?
If you look at the market that you're in, it's obviously there are big players in the bacon and the sausages market. How do you differentiate yourself?
Well, the differentiation can only be on quality and service, actually, because you certainly can't compete on price. And so you have to aim for a niche market. Now, on the sausage front, you know, we make our sausages out of cuts of meat. Pork shoulder is what we use for the pork sausages. They're all gluten-free. There's fresh herbs in them. So basically they're just back fat and pork shoulder and the necessary flavorings. And the same with the bacon. We do dry cured bacon, whereas most bacon, of course, is injected with brine. And so I get the weight loss rather than the customer. And that also means that that you're selling into a niche market that is only interested in quality, and those are people who are prepared to pay for it. And so, you know, you also, I think, you have to have a product that you have a degree of pride in. So if you're producing the bottom of the range stuff, you're only looking at making money out of it. And I really think there's much more to my little business than that, because, all right, I want to make a bit of money out of it, but you have to employ people. You're providing money for people who normally wouldn't have it. And that, to me, is very important. And also, you're producing a product that people say, wow, your sausages are fantastic. I mean, so it's not just a simple, let's make a bit of extra money during a retirement program, you know?
You're clearly very passionate about the food that you produce. How do you share that passion with your market? How do you get the word out there? How do you persuade people to try your product?
Well, we have a website, obviously. I mean, everybody has a website nowadays. And then I do a blog. But the blog, of course, I send out about once a week, or I try and send it out once a week. And then we talk about things that may or may not be happening. I mean, you can say things on a blog that you can never say on a website, like, I tried to make X and it was a total disaster, and wait for next week, you know. Now, you can say that on the blog. And you can also talk about other things, like maybe some terrible disaster you had in a restaurant that week, or etc. So it makes the blog much more interesting and lively. And of course, then you have pictures of the staff doing things and that type of thing. So there's more to the blog. So the two work together very well. And to me, that's interesting, because every time I send a blog out, I will get an individual order. Now most of my customers are actually restaurants. I made a mistake at the beginning thinking it was going to be retailers, but it's not, it's restaurants. And of course I sell directly to individuals. You can order through the website. Don't put prices on the website, of course, that's a disaster. You send them the prices afterwards. But whenever I send it out, individuals will order. So the blog is very important.
There's an interesting story around how you came up with your name.
Oh, the name? Well, PJS Food. Well, I mean, that's relatively obvious, isn't it? I originally called it Sausages You Can Trust. And it says on the logo, it's sort of got PJS in the middle and Sausages You Can Trust around it. But I was talking to the girls from Food and Home one day, and this is before I actually started the business properly. And they said, you know, we can't get into your blog site at all, you know. It keeps getting thrown out. It says access denied because it's thought to be a porn site. Well, it never crossed my mind. So I quickly rushed home and changed the blog name to PJS Food, and I haven't had a problem since.
How do you control quality with your staff? Because it's obviously a key aspect of your product.
Yes, that's actually very important, but they are fantastic. You know, my staff are all people who used to be and part-time still are sort of domestic workers. And they take great pride in the product themselves. And if I have a demonstration of any sort, I always take them with me to do the demonstration. And they all get dressed up. They love doing this, you see. So you have to generate an interest in the business. And you know, you're taking people who actually have no particular training, and suddenly they are a person. They have a skill, and that is something that they can use elsewhere. I mean, they might never do it, but now they see themselves as more than just a domestic worker, and that to me is very important. You're giving people a sense of dignity they probably didn't have before.
Peter, this is something that you've got into in your retirement. In your previous career, you were involved with the media for a long time, particularly in radio. How have you utilized your understanding of the power of the media to grow your brand?
Well, I think that's very important. I mean, extremely important, because I've been lucky, I suppose, because having worked in various media on one hand, and knowing a lot of people in it, it's meant that people have sort of got hold of me and said, can we put you in the magazine, or can we do this, or can we do that, or come and be on my radio program. Now, it doesn't sell things. I think people have to be aware of that. Don't think because you appear on page 6 of the Star or something that suddenly you're going to be sell a lot of things. But what it does do, it does create an awareness of what you do, and that is very valuable. So that if somebody does see you, they will remember that, oh, at some stage I heard about him. So that's very important. And of course, the internet is very important as well, because there you do at least have a chance of selling things directly. I'm not convinced that things like food shows, etc. do. I've never been on them. I've covered a lot of them in the past, and really the prime object of the food show is to make money for the organisers, not for the people who are actually setting it up, because you have to produce an enormous amount of product just to pay for your stand, and so I don't think that really works for a small business. They'll tell you it does, but don't believe a word of it.
And Peter, this is a business that you've done in retirement to supplement your income. I think that's a position a number of retirees find themselves in. What advice would you give to someone who is looking to retire and thinking about starting a small business? Well,
the first thing is that you must stick to something you know. Don't say, no, I'm retiring from the post office after 30 years, I'm going to start a wimpy bar. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster. So you've got to, first of all, start with something that you know. I know food, and I knew people in food, and I knew that this was something I could actually do, even though I'm not a butcher. So you've got to, that's the most important thing of all. And the second thing is to be aware of what market will actually accept your product. Now that you'll feel your way into, because look, I thought it was going to be retail. It wasn't. It turned out to be restaurants in the main and individuals. But you'll work your way into that one, but you have to have a market and be aware of how to pitch it and what sort of person is going to buy your product. I think that's very important. And secondly, you have to be aware that it's going to take longer than you reckon. I think that's the big thing, isn't it? You know, you all think it's going to take 6 months and we're going to be making a fortune, whereas it doesn't. It takes years. And so perseverance is probably the biggest quality that you need when it comes to actually pushing it.
And you were telling me that, for example, you don't do markets because it doesn't suit what you want out of the business?
Well, it doesn't suit my lifestyle. I mean, look, I'm not 26. I don't want to make 5 million in 5 years, and I'm a retired person. I don't have thousands of children to support. You know, so what I want to do is to improve my quality of life with a bit of extra money. So therefore, the business must work X number of days per week. I must have a lot of fun doing it. I don't want the angst of having to be a businessman and serious and not being able to do anything. I want to have free weekends. I don't want to sit on market stalls over the weekend. Most of my life in the media, I worked, certainly in the office 7 days a week. So to have a weekend is valuable to me now. So and I also like to have Fridays as free as possible. I like to have the long lunches that I actually gave up. So I don't want to make it too big. On the other hand, one has to be aware always that a business is either growing or declining. It doesn't remain static. So you have to be sure that you are making progress all the time. And I think what's most important of all, you have to remain in control of everything you do.
In terms of progress, are you introducing new lines, new products?
Oh yes, I think you're looking at that all the time. I used to make some lamb sausages, for example, but when the price of lamb went through the roof, I dropped them. I produced a Turkish sausage, and that was 2/3 lamb, 1/3 beef. I immediately converted it totally to beef. Now I've got a supply of lamb because somebody's asked me, please can I make lamb sausages for them as a restaurant. So I've managed to source lamb at a reasonable price and of a good quality. I mean, that's the most important thing, you know. And I can actually do it again. Now I'm thinking, am I going to? Now I also have another, like one of my customers also said to me, what about winter? You make this bacon, how about doing some smoked pork belly? Because I have a smoker, you see, quite a big smoker. I bought a new one this year. And so I've been experimenting with that. But that's what makes it interesting, you know. I mean, just churning out yards and yards of Lincolnshire sausages every week is not exactly intellectually stimulating.
And Peter, where to for your business from here?
Well, I'd like it to grow a bit more, but not too much. And then maybe, of course, the objective is, because I'm not getting younger, am I? The objective is maybe one day some nice man will come along and say, wow, we'd love to buy your business. And I'll say, thank you very much, and disappear off to the south of France.
Thank you, Peter. And that brings us to our rapid fire questions. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Oh, you must just do it, because you can actually do anything. You can do anything if you set your mind to it, and you know what you're doing. You know what you're actually aiming at.
And your best moment as an entrepreneur?
I got a telephone call from Radio 702, and Jenny Chris Williams said, I really love your Cumberland sausage.
And your biggest mistake?
Making pork pies.
What quality do you look for in people that you work with?
Well, people who are involved in what you do, and you can see that you can actually, at the same time, they're going to benefit from what you're teaching them, so that they themselves grow as a person and are enthusiastic about the product and the company.
What quality does an entrepreneur need to succeed?
Vision. I think that's the big thing, isn't it? Vision. You need some sort of intellectual vision as to where you aim to be, and that applies almost to everything.
And your biggest inspiration as a small business owner?
My biggest inspiration is actually producing a healthy product that I know is something that I enjoy eating myself. I think that's very important.
What would you do differently?
I wouldn't make pork pies, and I wouldn't allow anybody into the business.
What makes South Africa a great place to be an entrepreneur?
Because you can do it, and because you actually have people who really are keen on working. We have all this rubbish, of course, about how the local people don't want to work. This is absolute rubbish. Everybody is only too happy to be involved with things if they're given the right opportunities.
And what keeps you awake at night?
Well, I suppose it's always cash flow, isn't it? But I've been lucky there.
And what gets you going in the morning?
Oh, that's easy. It's eggs and bacon.
Peter, thank you very much. And thank you for joining us. We look forward to the coming weeks where we will bring you further South African entrepreneurs. I'm Paul Hobden. Thank you and goodbye.